Xiaomi's new 17T Pro is here. Marketing screams that this is the new telephoto king, the performance monster, the flagship killer, but I think Xiaomi may have created one of the best phones of the year and one of the hardest to recommend. Why? Let's inspect. Hi, great to see you here. I'm the TechMishka, and this review comes a few days after the official launch, because, as usual, I prefer actual experience over day one excitement and marketing relays, and after using the Xiaomi 17T Pro extensively, I can confidently say that this phone tells a very different story once you move beyond the spec sheet. My video is based on a lot of real-life experience. I used it during a family trip through Warsaw, therefore you're gonna see a lot of photos from there. So yeah, I've been testing the cameras, the battery life, the gaming, the thermal software, and everyday usability. Traditionally, the Xiaomi T line has been associated with aggressive value. You get close to flagship hardware for significantly less money. That was the formula, that was the identity of the series, but this year, it feels different. And for your convenience, this video is divided into sections, so feel free to jump around if you care about something in particular. But if you watch the whole thing, I promise you're gonna get a very complete overview based on real-world use, not just benchmarks and studio lighting shots. And instead of beginning with design, like what I usually do, I want to start with a camera setup, not just the main camera, but this telephoto camera, because it is perhaps the main reason why this phone exists in the first place. You get a 5-time optical zoom camera with a relatively wide aperture for its size, optical image stabilization, and image quality that consistently delivers great results. Photos are sharp, detailed, vibrant, and Xiaomi have done a surprisingly good job with color consistency between the lenses. It is so easy to get good shots, even with shaky hands. Stabilization works brilliantly, and many of the photos you're currently seeing are captured successfully from the very first attempt. The night performance is also excellent. The telephoto remains usable in situations where many competing phones completely fall apart. In many scenarios, this setup outperforms even some much more expensive flagships, such as some of the currently best iPhones. Now, for the bad news, this telephoto camera is essentially the same one used in the previous generation, the 15T Pro. So if you expected a major hardware jump, this isn't happening. The main camera also follows a very similar pattern. Xiaomi moved from the Light Fusion 900 to the Light Fusion 950 sensor. The hardware differences are extremely minor, sensor size remains practically identical, and the overall behavior is familiar. Still, this is a very capable camera. The photos are detailed, exposure handling is reliable, HDR works well without looking absurdly artificial, and Xiaomi's processing this year feels slightly more mature. Leica's color tuning continues to give images a more cinematic and emotional look compared to many competitors that aggressively oversharpen everything. Video recording is another huge strength. The hardware supports up to 8K recording, but more importantly, Xiaomi continue to provide one of the most feature-rich camera apps in the smartphone industry, and this is where the 17T Pro starts feeling almost like a professional tool. You get log recording, extensive manual controls, advanced frame rate options, excellent stabilization, and many useful pro features that are usually locked behind third-party apps. I was particularly impressed by this cinematic sequence here. Using a simple ND filter and following the classic 180-degree shutter rule, I managed to get this extremely natural motion blur and cinematic movement directly from the phone. Few years ago, smartphone footage simply couldn't look like this without serious compromises. The ultra-wide camera, however, remains the weakest part of the setup. Daytime performance is perfectly fine, but nighttime quality quickly drops. Fixed focus on top. To be fair, that's true for many ultra-wide cameras in smartphones, but Xiaomi definitely could have pushed harder here considering the price increase. The selfie camera is slightly improved this year too. It even supports proper 4K video recording, which means significantly sharper quality for video calls, vlogging, and social media content if whatever app you use supports the resolution. Overall, the camera story is simple. The telephoto is excellent, the main camera is very strong, video features are outstanding, but the actual hardware evolution compared to last year feels conservative at best. The performance is another major reason people would buy this phone, and yes, this thing is fast, extremely fast. The Dimensity flagship platform inside the 17T Pro delivers top-tier performance across almost everything you throw at it. Apps open instantly, multitasking feels effortless, gaming performance is so good, and thermals are actually better controlled than on many Snapdragon competitors. Every year, Qualcomm and MediaTek continue this interesting battle. Qualcomm, I think, still dominates the developer optimization because most of the apps and the games prioritize Snapdragon chips first. But MediaTek's flagship Dimensity line has quietly become incredibly competitive, especially regarding thermal efficiency and sustained GPU behavior. I agree with people saying that MediaTek currently handles heat in a better way. And yes, throttling still exists. After about 30 minutes, especially about heavy gaming, performance starts dropping slightly, but compared to the regular Xiaomi 17, the T Pro actually feels more stable under long workloads. And you know that I'm personally not a hardcore mobile gamer, but titles which I regularly play felt excellent. Stable frame rates, responsive touch input, and importantly, the phone doesn't become absurdly hot during regular use. And combined with the rest of the hardware package, this feels like a properly premium flagship experience, but then Xiaomi make one truly frustrating decision again. USB 2.0. Seriously, at this price, using outdated USB protocol for wide transfers feels difficult to defend. And yes, most people transfer files wirelessly nowadays, including me, but having fast wire transfers, display output option, and modern connectivity gives confidence that you actually bought a flagship, especially at this price. So it feels like artificial segmentation. But anyway, now let's talk about one truly premium aspect, the display. The panel is beautiful. Technically, it's very similar to the one used in the previous generation, but peak brightness is slightly improved, roughly around 10%. Fact is that most people will never notice that difference directly, but overall outdoor visibility remains excellent. Xiaomi have also opted for DC dimming, which eliminates the rapid flickering found in PWM-based displays and may reduce eye strain for users who are sensitive to it. Color reproduction looks excellent, motion smoothness is fantastic, and Xiaomi continue including a factory-applied screen protector out of the box, which, together with the Gorilla Glass protection, should keep the phone looking fresh for a long time. Design-wise, the phone immediately reminded me of the iPhone Pro Max lineup, and of course, reminded me of last year's model. Not because it copies Apple directly, but because of the overall proportions and physical presence. This is a large flagship device, yet despite the size, Xiaomi managed to keep it relatively thin. Build quality is excellent, the frame is aluminium, while the back uses what Xiaomi call reinforced fiberglass plastic. And once again, this is extremely similar to the 15T Pro. Ergonomics remains surprisingly comfortable considering the battery size. And speaking of it, this is the biggest upgrade. The jump from 5,500 mAh to 7,000, that's massive, roughly 27% increase in capacity, and yes, you absolutely feel it in daily use. Battery endurance here is excellent. Of course, results always depend on your personal habits. Heavy gaming and outdoor brightness usage drain the battery significantly faster. But with my typical use case, mostly camera usage, emails, YouTube, messaging, social media, a bit of navigation and light gaming, I consistently achieve between 35 and 40 hours between charges. That's impressive. Charging also remains extremely fast, reaching up to 100 watts with the original charger. Connectivity-wise, everything important is here. Latest Wi-Fi standards, Bluetooth, NFC, infrared blaster, classic Xiaomi flagship treatment. One very nice addition is proper dual eSIM support. You can run two eSIMs simultaneously or combine them with physical nano SIM cards. A total of 2 is the maximum though, regardless of the combination. And no, forget about microSD expansion, that era is basically over for these high-end Xiaomi phones. As for software, This is where opinions become divided. The 17T Pro launches with Android 16 and Xiaomi's HyperOS skin. Visually, it looks polished, modern, fluid, and highly customizable. You can make it resemble stock Android if you want to. And Xiaomi's ecosystem integration has become surprisingly powerful. Call transfers between devices or clipboard syncing, file exchange, ecosystem continuity. Xiaomi are clearly building their own Apple-style ecosystem strategy, but HyperOS still carries many of the same frustrations longtime Xiaomi users complain about. Pre-installed apps, aka bloatware, questionable services, aggressive system suggestions, security prompts. And yes, some things can be removed or disabled, but many people simply don't want to spend time debloating a premium flagship phone they just paid serious money for. Now, let's summarize the drawbacks, because unfortunately, many of them are exactly the same as last year. The ultra-wide camera still feels average at best, USB 2.0 is outdated, HyperOS still divides opinions, and the hardware improvements are relatively small. At the beginning of this review, I was ready to call the Xiaomi 17T Pro the best value Xiaomi flagship of 2026, but after spending real time with it, I don't think I can say that anymore. Not because the phone is bad, actually the opposite. It's probably one of the best MediaTek-powered flagship phones released this year. The telephoto camera is outstanding. The battery life is phenomenal for Xiaomi standards. The performance is excellent, and Xiaomi Professional's video toolset is among the strongest available on Android today. In many scenarios, this camera setup, especially the telephoto, can absolutely outperform even the iPhone Pro Max lineup, especially regarding zoom versatility and manual video capabilities. But the value, and I'm being practical here, you know that I always try to be, I would currently recommend the Xiaomi 17T Pro from last year to most people instead. And if you already own one, then keep it, enjoy it. You're probably not missing enough to justify upgrading to the 17T Pro, which is a fantastic phone trapped inside a market that is becoming increasingly difficult to justify financially. And maybe that's the real story here, and the impact that Xiaomi tried to limit with his early launch. Thank you so much for watching this review. I hope it felt practical, balanced, and useful for helping you make the right decision for your own use case. I'm the TechMishka. As usual, all the tech you've seen throughout the video is linked somewhere in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.